Hey guys, I had to head home. I was at the protest earlier, and I just got home, and I just saw this insane shit, and that's why we're live right now. Because I couldn't believe what I saw, and I will most likely be heading back, but I wanted to get some at-home coverage for a little bit. I don't have like an IRL backpack, so I couldn't even stream it while I was there, but yeah. Everybody, hi. Yeah, I just figured if I'm gonna be keeping up with it, I might as well stream with you guys. Let me pull this up. Yeah, things are really fucking crazy out there. I couldn't believe what I saw. Like, completely peaceful protest. Completely peaceful. And I witnessed them. I was like a foot away, and I witnessed them putting on their gas masks as they started tear gassing everybody. Thankfully, I was wearing like a okay enough mask, so I don't think I inhaled that much. But
peaceful. I continue to support the millions of Americans who are standing up to protect our most fundamental rights and freedoms. A mention there of being mostly peaceful. That I guess that's.
I'm going to disappear for 1 minute.
This is insane.
Mentioned condemnations who are trying to clear the situation. We did see rocks and projectiles thrown at vehicles, law enforcement vehicles that have been making their way through. The back window of a Suburban, we believe a federal vehicle, was shattered as we were covering this live today by people who were simply throwing things at any vehicle that passed. On the right side of your screen is a confrontation we saw on the surface of the 101. This is the southbound 101. A sad game of kick the can between CHP officers and those demonstrators with that tear gas canister. In fact, you're going to see one of those if we play this out. The last person to touch this winds up being arrested here, taken down by an officer who was trying to kick that canister back towards those officers. So that was one of, I'd say, at least a dozen people from this particular group who has been arrested, taken into custody, and removed from the situation. And this has continued. Face to face up this on-ramp, the CHP slowly marching these people back and away from the 101.
The Flotilla is also being attacked by Israel right now. IOF have sprayed some kind of white liquid all over the boat. Yeah, also somebody else mentioned this. Yeah. I have this open on the other monitor, just taking a look.
For at least an hour as we have been on the air here. The northbound side was open for a time as the southbound side was overtaken, but now both sides have been shut down for some time as the CHP is trying to regain control. All of this is happening as large crowds gather in other portions of downtown, including outside the federal building, the Roybal detention facility where detainees have been brought throughout this weekend. And we have seen 3 days of unrest there, demonstrations and confrontations, and that is where we are looking right now.
Yeah, confrontations by the fucking hogs.
Really quick before we hit the top of the hour, one last check with you on what we're seeing at the
fucking kidding me?
Building there.
I was there. I was there the moment that they started fucking dropping the tear gas. This is fucking. There was no violence.
Yeah, Jury, we're keeping an eye on the scene at the federal building.
The extent of the violence was pointing at the hogs and saying, fuck you.
Motorcycle situation that we saw where 2 motorcycles breached the skirmish line. 2 people were taken into custody there. The motorcycles may have hit a couple of officers there and caused minor injuries to officers who were treated at the scene. And those officers are in stable condition.
I think they're going to push in from this side of the road. Oh, fuck. That fucked my hair up.
Dude, Hassan is a crazy person. Hassan is insane. Anyway, fucking himbo ass, dipshit ass motherfucker. There's also something very scary about, like...
In there, we believe those were LAPD officers. So we're keeping an eye on the scene at the Federal Building, and we're keeping an eye on this large scene on the Aliso ramp to the 101. Large crowd there. It looks to be a couple hundred people, but CHP has been successful in their efforts to clear the protesters off the 101 freeway. So unknown how much longer the 101 freeway will be closed, probably for another few minutes as CHP maybe gets these people further up the off-ramp and completely onto the ramp. And this may... you see another person taken into custody there as a couple things are thrown at officers, and that person may be getting a little too pushy with the officers. That's that person earlier with the
Let's see if I can pull up the Freedom
green cap,
Flotilla.
with the American flag. So one person being taken into custody there. A little scuffle happening a little further up the ramp here, and in situations like these where you see projectiles being thrown at officers and things being thrown around, sometimes you see those smoke grenades being thrown out by these CHP officers because they have those at the ready to forcefully push these crowds back as you see things get a little bit pushy, a little bit tense.
Okay, here we have LA Mayor Karen Bass again. NBA Finals will continue on ABC7. We'll continue to cover this on streaming.
Right to protest, that's their First Amendment right. But people should also exercise that right peacefully.
If
We
you
do
are
not
going
want
to
to play
protest,
into the...
please look at the resources in Gremlo's Discord server. Topaz has a great resource on how to stay safe, which can be found at the top of the Tech Nerd channel.
Administration's hands. We're working with officials, we're organizing resources, but what we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked by the administration. When you raid Home Depot and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you cause fear and you cause panic. And deploying federalized troops is a dangerous escalation. But we need to be real about this. This is about another agenda. It's not about public safety. There's clearly no plan, and there is clearly no policy. I want the people of Los Angeles to know that we stand with all Angelenos, no matter where you were born. The First Amendment right gives you the ability, again, to protest peacefully. But it does not give you the right to be violent, to create chaos, or to vandalize property. And that will not be tolerated. So I call on all Angelenos to continue expressing your right, your anger, your outrage, but to do it peacefully. And I just have to say that all of you were there Friday. Everybody knows what happened Friday. A workplace, several workplaces were targeted and raids took place. Now, in the beginning, the administration said they were just looking for dangerous felons, violent people. It's hard to say that that's what they found at a workplace or in a Home Depot parking lot. When this happens, it terrifies people. It sends a sense of fear and chaos in our city. And you well remember a few years ago in the last administration that kids were afraid to go to school, parents were afraid to go to work. This impacts all of our city. You can't terrify the workforce, and then expect for people to get the jobs done.
Aspen was saying on his stream that it was peaceful because they were interrupting traffic. Oh my fucking God.
So if you think about a father that went into a
my
factory
fucking God.
and now his family doesn't know where he is, the detainees have not been allowed to speak to legal counsel. That is a marked departure from what has happened in the past. When you think of a mother that might be working in a household, taking care of children on another side of town, that impacts that family as well as her family.
The Flotilla is being boarded right now. I'm trying to find a live link for this, but I'm struggling to.
I think should not be happening in our city, and I join with the governor in appealing to the administration to rescind the order to federalize the National Guard and allow the National Guard to come back under the control of the governor. So with that, we can open it up for questions. Yes.
We're going to start with Lolita and then we'll go to Chase.
Mayor, these protests that were demonstrations, I should say, did start out peacefully. You've been here since
Right.
in the morning.
Right.
But then they scattered and people were moved
Right.
around. where is the LAPD in terms of being here to be able to deal with that and maybe stop them before they go on the freeway?
Sure. Well, I think that basically they were overrun. But what is happening now is that the freeway is cleared. The California Highway Patrol, as you know, is in charge of the freeways. So they have moved all of the protesters back. They still might be there, but they are beginning to be dispersed. But LAPD is on the perimeter, so LAP is actively involved. You know that there were hundreds of protesters on the freeway and thousands of protesters off the freeway. So there is a joint collaboration going with the CHP, the LAPD, and then frankly the National Guard. But you also know that the National Guard is deployed to protect federal property. So there is a National Guard troops in Westwood at the federal building and also here downtown.
Next question is Chase.
Mayor Bass, have you reached out directly to the federal government, or is this you doing so right now with the media here? Have you tried to reach out?
No, my disappointment is I've been talking to the federal government for days. I was hoping to prevent this situation from happening. I was trying to encourage the administration that if they deployed the National Guard in Los Angeles, it would create a sense of chaos. It's the last thing our city needs. Our city is still trying to recover from the wildfires. And you just think about how so many people were impacted by that. And that's
Jesus fuck. Yeah, it looks like the most recent telegram says Eileen is currently under assault in international waters. Quadcopters are surrounding the ship, spraying it with a white irritant substance. Communications are jammed. Disturbing sounds are being played over the radio. And this is what's happening from what I can see. Someone posted, this is their most recent Instagram post.
A lot of substances and objects on us. Quadcopters, the most dangerous ones. Everyone, we are under
this is
attack.
the Al Jazeera coverage of it.
It would constitute a breach of international law. And as I say, Israel's Defense Minister, Israel Katz, says that he's instructed the military to ensure the flotilla carrying aid and several activists does not reach Gaza. It is about 100 kilometers off the coast of Gaza. And according to the Freedom Flotilla Coalition statement, it's currently under assault in international waters. And quadcopters are surrounding the ship.
Sorry.
an example of where the administration was helpful. And to go from that situation to where we are now is just really tragic. And I think it's so unfortunate. It's the last thing Los Angeles needs.
When you say you reached out to the federal government, do you have any...
We are listening to
No,
LA
I
Mayor
did not.
Karen Bass address her city amidst unrest in Los Angeles. If you're continuing on ABC 7 on air, we will switch things over to the NBA Finals Game 2 between Indiana and Oklahoma City. We will continue to cover this. What is going on in Los
Jesus. This is the most recent update from the Freedom Flotilla.
Swarm of drones here. They attacked the humanitarian aid, they attacked the top of our cockpits. Yeah, they are right here above us, the quadcopters. And yeah, we had a good response time. Our team is doing well. We do not fear them. They did a very bad calculation. They cannot expect the global uprising that may come. How much people will be able to do a bigger effort now, to go to the demonstrations, to do boycotting, to disrupt the armed factories, to break the media blockade, to break the blockade of the big techs, the boycott that they do on free information. And yes, to go on the global march to Gaza, to go on the smooth convoy, to go on the next flotilla missions to break the streets. We do not fear them. They need to fear the social majority of the world. They know that we are nonviolent. They know that we only carry humanitarian aid here, but they are doing this for psychological warfare. But even then, we can
Yeah, God forbid the people in Gaza receive any
not
humanitarian
go
aid.
outside anymore, because those quadcopters, they have a system called smart shooting. Yeah, here's the drone again. Guys,
Yeah, and it looks like the latest news from a few minutes ago, from 2 minutes ago, connections have been lost. Israeli army have boarded the vessel. Jesus. "1 a.m. UK time, Israeli speedboat reached Madlena. At the time the boat was intercepted, no one is wounded. Captain asked me to record. I heard the soldier speaking while the captain was on the phone with me. I lost connection with the captain as he was telling me that another boat is approaching."
Los Angeles, and continue listening to this press conference from Mayor Karen Bass, streaming on abc7.com and the ABC7 Los Angeles app.
Well, I'm worried about everybody. I'm worried about members of law enforcement. I'm worried about
Oh,
the safety of
boo.
the people who are peacefully protesting.
Oh, won't someone think of the law enforcement members that have gas masks and AR-15s? Oh.
I'm worried about...
No, I'm never afraid.
What the fuck happened to this audio? Please, Christ, stop.
Praying for all the protesters. Protect everyone who risks their lives to do the right thing.
Oh, shit. Look, look, look. All over the place. I think they're dispersing over there as well. Yeah. They're over there. They're over there. They're on that side, too. They're making an increasingly smaller area, an increasingly smaller perimeter, and I think the goal is basically to disperse, to get people to leave, and then eventually the remaining...
Yeah, I mean, that was their goal initially when I was there. They were actively trying to disperse as many people as they could. I mean, they were tear gassing when there was no violence. There was literally none.
There's people up there too, yeah.
Oh, you paused him right when he said they're about to start making arrests. Yeah, sorry. They have already started making arrests. They already have started doing that. I mean, it's been happening.
Mean that they would actually be deployed onto our streets. So my conversation with him was trying to encourage, to prevent the deployment. Obviously, that did not work.
Just to be clear, are you meeting with the police chief and anybody else, or just the police chief?
Democrats being useless. Whoa, what a shocker.
Chief, the sheriff, and the governor.
Quick one, when you talk about peaceful protests, we're hearing the noises outside as this crowd is getting closer and presumably more violent as they're coming up through the streets here. I know it's nice to talk about peaceful protests.
That's not peaceful, what was happening. It's not peaceful for people to be on the highways. It's not peaceful for people to throw rocks or bottles. That's not peaceful.
So then how do we reconcile the difference? Obviously, there's frustration with the Trump administration and the feds, but as LAPD and the Sheriff's Department try to distance themselves from the actions of these immigration...
It's not peaceful to be on the highway. Okay, Asmongold. Okay. All right. Which, by the way, I tried to just take just one peek at Asmongold's stream, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like, I literally, he's offline. Oh, sorry. Zach Roar.
Yeah, you're just shying away from actions that reinforce it. There's 400 people there, you arrest 10, and you say, wow, look at us.
The mission of the National Guard is to protect federal property and the federal building, which is why you have only seen them there. You have not seen them out in the community or anything like that. And just in terms of, to close, to wrap up, I just have to say that, again, our city has been through a lot since the beginning of the year. And now thinking that there is a large percentage of our city that is terrified, that is not going to know if they go to sleep tonight and they go to work or they go to school, will that be the last day they do that? Will that be the last day they see their family?
That's right.
We can't have this in our city. Los Angeles is a city of immigrants, where 50% of the population is Latino. Percentage of the populations are from Asian countries and from all over the world.
I mean, if they're
and
Latino,
we embrace
that means
all
there must be
Angelinos. It
illegal,
doesn't matter
right?
where you came
In
from
Asia,
or when you
that's
got
like
here.
China.
But the most important thing right now is that our city be peaceful. And so protests and expressing your, fears, your beliefs is appropriate to do, but it is just not appropriate for there to be violence. And I don't want people to fall in.
God.
appropriate to do.
Idle
But
room,
it
thank you
is
for the
just
5.
not appropriate for there to be violence. And I don't want people to fall into the chaos that I believe is being created by the administration completely unnecessarily. Thank you very much.
Dude, what a fucking Karen Bass. Okay. One sec, let me pull this up.
You might have heard him going.
Oh my God, please. I'm good, thank you.
With a lot of protesters that were reacting with aggressive
Not right now,
behavior.
Pete Davidson.
So those LAPD units actually backed away on Temple and backed up from those protesters. You can see those mounted units right there just trying to regroup and reassess the situation, because as soon as they started coming towards City Hall on Temple, near this very intersection, this is going to be Los Angeles Street and Temple Street, they were met by some aggressive behavior by some protesters, and you can see that mall area on the bottom left corner of your screen, this open park space. A lot of the surfaces there have been tagged by protesters. Even when I got on the scene here a couple hours ago, those walls were bare, and now they have been tagged, and a lot of graffiti has been applied to those walls. So those protesters have been pretty busy on some of these other streets near the Federal Building, while our eyes were focused on the situation on the 101 freeway. Both lanes on the 101 freeway are still closed right now, but CHP has...
You guys don't understand. They're doing graffiti. We have to kill as many of them as possible. We have to arrest all of them.
pushed the majority of those protesters off of the freeway. And
They're doing graffiti in response to checks notes, kidnapping and sending people to an El Salvador prison camp, a fucking labor camp in fucking El Salvador. Oh, won't someone think of the graffiti?
Smoke bombs being launched, and that created a lot of smoke and really kind of pushed the protesters further back and away from the freeway. It'll be interesting to see what role CHP will continue to play there.
If they're committing crimes, they should be arrested. You're the type of dipshit that would have thought that a black person sitting in the front of the bus should have gotten arrested. You are that level of stupid. Laws should be built around your morals, not the other way around.
As we can see one individual breaking windows on those Waymos, and there's that other Waymo that's on fire. And all three of these, I think I counted 4, have been completely hit by graffiti, a lot of paint, a lot of words and statements being placed on these Waymos. And this is quite an interesting scene, something that you wouldn't see maybe in the riots of 2020 and before that, because we didn't have these automated vehicles that are kind of easy to corner and easy to stop.
The Waymos are like automated cars that don't have, they're driverless cars.
These automated vehicles as maybe billboards for their message, and unknown what, you know, the Waymo's response to this is going to be. Do they just kind of...
Guys, won't you think of Waymo's profits? Oh, won't you think of Waymo's profits? It's literally a driverless car with no one in it. Won't someone think of the poor widow Waymos?
Individual, so at least...
Can you imagine valuing a self-driving car, a piece of fucking metal, over the lives of the people that are being sent to an El Salvador fucking concentration camp right now? They're being sent to labor camps for the crime of seeking asylum in the United States.
that we're seeing now taking place on the Chinatown side of the 101 freeway. And we're seeing a lot of these protesters move northbound on Los Angeles Street. I'm not sure if that was from the activity that we saw a little bit closer to Temple and Los Angeles Street, where those mounted officers from LAPD kind of clashed a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if that's what's spurring some of these protesters to continue northbound on Los Angeles Street, or if they're just kind of moving forward of their own will.
Aren't they illegals? You are actually the biggest sucker on the planet if you think the only people being deported are illegals. You're actually a fucking moron. There have only been like 20 plus stories of people we know that were in fact not illegal, that were in this country, that have gotten deported. People who were here legally, you fucking shit for brains. You cannot be saved if you just close your eyes or put your head in the sand every time you see a story of someone who was legally here.
That may have just gotten, you know, these automated vehicles maybe don't know that there's a protest. They don't have that programmed into their software to be aware of that. So they probably just drove into it. And people, you know, they know that if you stand in front of it, they just stop. And people are obviously taking advantage of that right now. And you can see one person leaning on the hood, taking a selfie with that Waymo that's on fire, and a lot of messages from protesters being painted on these Waymos right now on a Sunday night.
Yeah, things devolving in some parts of downtown, and you do not want to see this happen. These are electric cars. Any car that is burning is going to send off some pretty bad toxins into the air, but an electric car in particular, once it hits that battery, you're talking about a very difficult job for firefighters. This is going to continue to burn those lithium-ion batteries, and the size of them and the amount of power they have in them. Once they catch fire, this is going to be a bad situation. You hope it's not an explosion and people aren't too close. But I know if I were near a burning electric car, I would get away as quickly as I can as the destruction continues here. We're hoping to talk, and here we go. Someone else starting a fire in one of these vehicles ran out of fuel, thankfully, before that one could ignite, and now hiding their identity. But again, this is something, it's a volatile situation. I don't know if police are able to move in to this scene and try and calm things down, get these folks out. The fire department at some point is going to have to be called in to put this car out, and now a major conflagration in this car. We saw in Compton yesterday when that car was lit on fire in the middle of the intersection, the firefighters had to come in and had to be protected by police. You know, you have a line of
famously, the cops will calm a situation down.
Get those firefighters safe, and even those firefighters.
The Waymo is no mo. Shut the fuck up, dude. Like, dude, do you see where your fucking priorities are? You're crying about a car. You're crying about a few $1,000s.
You can see her son in that.
Of metal over countless people's lives who are being sent to labor camps who are legally here. Do you see where your priorities are? You're a fucking moron, dude. You're actually a fucking idiot. And hey, by the way, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Were you at the protest? Because I can tell you I was at the protest, and I can tell you they were absolutely peaceful before people started getting tear gassed.
That is clearly the people who are committing the violence are not Trump administration officials, so they are to blame as well. So, you know, it sounds like she's having it both ways. Let's zoom in back on that car, because we're starting to see some explosions emerge from that. You see the fuel now on the...
You're just mad you're losing. Dude, Trump fucking approval rating is in the gutter, but keep coping. Just, no copium. I swear Trump's going to win another election. People love Republicans. They love the tariffs. Oh, they love this so much. Keep coping.
On the street now, burning on the surface of Los Angeles Street, and people still maintaining a really close proximity. You see those flames coming out of there really fast and powerful. Something in there has caught where we're talking about a volatile, dangerous situation, and you hope that this is the only car that is set ablaze, and you still see some flames there on the roadway as that fuel, whatever fuel source is now burning, has now made its way onto the street itself.
And Jory, sorry to interrupt, but looking at the Waymo right there, I was looking at what kind of fumes the Waymo sets out whenever it's set on fire like this. I'm not even sure if the protesters even realize that how toxic and dangerous these fumes can be. Hydrogen fluoride, carbon monoxide, just these flammable gases that can potentially explode. And we could possibly even see an explosion happening from this Waymo if it's on fire long enough. And just all these protesters in that area, again, this air is just so toxic, and it just really makes you question, why would they do something like this?
Yeah, that's just mob mentality at this point.
Googling what's in a battery fire bad.
Just watching things burn. That's Nico Kazori joining our coverage here. I'm Jory Rand as we are continuing our coverage of the unrest in downtown Los Angeles. And we do see possibly some officers moving in now to try and gain control of this situation. This is still... I saw some smoke in the background, so I'm not sure if that's a flashbang smoke or whether these officers are moving in on this situation. But a large crowd gathering here. I think this is Los Angeles Street. 5 cars from the fleet of Waymos that now service Los Angeles have been attacked, vandalized, and destroyed. This one on the right of this window Los Angeles, that is in response to moves by the Department of Homeland Security and ICE under the Trump administration as they continue to take those in this country illegally out of the United States.
Absolutely. And we were talking about the National Guard a little bit earlier. They're deployed. 2,000 troops are here. And pretty much President Donald Trump basically bypassed Governor Newsom's authority, and he deployed the troops here. And that makes you think that's another thing that these protesters are angry with. And that's another reason why these protests are getting a little out of control. Tensions are high. And earlier during that press conference, Mayor Bastis she said Angelenos have the right to exercise their First Amendment right, but peacefully and not like this. So this is what we are seeing here. This is the scene in downtown LA. Again, these protests, they erupted amid the ICE raids, and it's the 3rd day of civil unrest. Jory's been talking about this for hours now. You have been covering this since 1 this afternoon. Is this when
it's been going for hours. We know there was a demonstration this morning. It stretched into the afternoon, and then 2 large demonstrations converged into one. Governor Newsom responding to the president today with a number of posts to social media, and some of this is stuff we have never seen before in the United States. So the governor responding to a video of President Trump speaking to reporters today saying there will be law and order in the streets of the United States. The governor writing, inciting and provoking violence, creating mass chaos, militarizing cities, arresting opponents. These are the acts of a dictator, not a president. The governor also writing officially to the Trump administration, he said, to rescind their unlawful deployment of troops in Los Angeles County and return them to my command. This is the governor posting to Twitter. He writes, "We didn't have a problem until Trump got involved. This is a serious breach of state sovereignty, inflaming tensions while pulling resources from where they're actually needed. Rescind the order, return control to California." That is a message to the President of the United States. Attached is a letter written from the office of the governor to the Trump administration and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, signed by David Sapp, Legal Affairs Secretary in the office of Governor Newsom. And it goes on to list ways where the governor and the state believe it's unlawful for the president to have federalized members of the National Guard, writing, this is done under Section 10 of the legal code as how they federalize U.S. troops. But this lawyer writing that Section 12406 states that, quote, the president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary to, 1, repel an invasion of the United States by a foreign nation. That has not happened. 2, suppress a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. There is an argument that I'm sure the president will make that stands here. And 3, execute the laws of the United States when the president is unable to do so with regular forces. That is not the case here as well. So they will look to likely number 2 there of those three citations within the code. But the office of the governor writing the section further states that orders for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of the states. And therein lies the problem. This was not done at the request of the governor of California, which is typically how the federalization of National Guard's troops happens. We've seen it happen quite often, in fact. Niku, we saw it happen during the fires. We've visited these sites and seen National Guards members guarding entrances and exits. We saw it during the 2020 civil unrest. National Guards members were on the streets, and we have seen it in the past. But it happens at the request of the governor, not in opposition to the governor.
And it makes you think this is so hard to predict what can happen next, because this is just it's not going.
Yep, Sparrow Gum. Car fire cam, just like AutoZone fire cam from 2020, manufacturer consent for fascism. Yep. It's a distraction. And yeah, I saw this. We've been covering this. I've had the Al Jazeera open on the side, following the story. If anything breaking occurs. Right now, from my understanding, they've lost footage. Or sorry, they've lost connection with the
from Israeli territorial waters.
They've lost footage with the Madeleine, so
was
we can only assume that
international waters.
The IOF has taken everyone into custody.
And this was confirmed by the International Court of Justice in its 2024, July 2024 opinion, saying Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territory is unlawful and must come to an immediate end. Israel has no lawful jurisdiction. On top of that, it has been implementing an unlawful blockade that is designed to punish the civilian population. This is a war crime. It is not new. It has been in place since 2006. Israel has been persecuting and punishing the entire civilian population of Gaza. So
I want to return to this for a second.
In liberal democracies, it's supposed to be the election cycle. What's good? And you vote, you go out and you vote for your candidate, and your candidate is supposed to fight for your interests, and you're supposed to feel represented. But when that doesn't happen, people understandably get angry. Where the fuck where is our government? We're in California, we're in Los Angeles. This is unacceptable. This many people are out here in the streets right now, not because they're mad about, I don't know, fucking, it's some dumb, irrelevant bullshit. Like, they're mad because their neighbors are getting fucking kidnapped in what is supposed to be a sanctuary city, what is supposed to be a sanctuary state. And it also hits really weird when you're fucking standing in that crowd and you see some pig fuck wearing the latest gear. He's got fucking ceramic plates on. He's got a baton in his fucking hand, and he's looking at you like a $10 steak that he wants to eat. And it's like, I paid your fucking I paid your salary.
They slammed some 19-year-old girl down, like when we were down there, just for fucking waving a Mexican flag in the face. It's insane.
It's like, we all pay your salaries. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
We're getting tear gas. We're getting fucking flashbang. It's bullshit.
The idea that one or two Waymos being destroyed means that we should be allowed to send as many people as we want to prison labor camps who are here legally is absurd. It's like actually obscene. Ignoring the context that, first of all, the violence was started by the police, as is per usual. And the fact that, I'm sorry, a car on fire is not an active threat to people, except if you're right next to it and you're worried about it exploding. There is a concern when you see this fucking geared up hog piece of shit with lethal weapons, throwing smoke nades, flashbangs, or tear gas at you, and you don't know if they're going to point their gun at you. The idea that a car on fire is an active threat of danger against all the civilians nearby is fucking insane.
Okay, so this is the top of the hill. Here's the bottom of the hill. This is where the focal point of much of the unrest has been. This is Alameda and Temple down here.
Like, if you think this is extreme, you should see what they do in fucking France.
A large confrontation this morning as those cars continue to burn a few blocks away. There is the motorcycle that remains on scene. There was a time when there was a skirmish line, LAPD officers who had cleared the entrance to the federal building and pushed people down the hill into this intersection of Alameda and Temple. At that point, two people on motorcycles approached the skirmish line. And again, there's some, we're not sure whether they intentionally drove those bikes into the officers or whether they were just doing a U-turn or some kind of maneuver and lost control and hit the officers. Either way, they hit the officers. 2 of them suffering injuries. Both drivers have been taken into custody and will likely face several new charges in addition to just what the other protesters obstructing a federal or local authority. Once those
Leftist protests set fire to 2 cars in a store. Important to note, again, these 2 cars weren't even people's personal property. It's some fucking company's money getting burned. Oh my God. Oh, boo-hoo. They literally have insurance for this exact fucking reason. This was used to manufacture consent for fascism. Right side protests broke into Congress and tried to stop an election, but those are all just patriots.
officers were injured. And as we pan
Peak
back
soy
over to
right.
Los Angeles Street, you can see the 101 freeway is now moving northbound. The southbound
So it's, it seems
not
like
moving.
it's, okay, it's still closed. The southbound side is still closed, but northbound is open?
Yeah,
Is this what
southbound
we're
is
saying?
closed.
Okay.
You can see the officers, CHP still on the surface. Mike, what were you saying? Got it. Okay, so we have,
It
again,
doesn't even. Wow, that's crazy. The store fire was caused by the police flashbangs.
on the right side of your screen, a live view from the ground from Los Angeles Street. That is what you're seeing right now at the top of your screen on the left from that aerial view from Air 7. So we have demonstrators spread out to at least 3 or 4 different locations. The largest group, I'd say, is over by the 101. I'm sure many of these people were the folks who were on the 101 freeway just a short time ago. They were slowly backed up the on-ramp by CHP officers and pushed up onto side streets, surface streets once again.
And then we saw...
yeah, was that a flashbang? Are officers moving into this area now? I just saw another explosion, and it looks like people might be moving out of here.
Hopefully, if they are moving in this area, they have their respirators on, because, again, this is toxic gas, and there are just way too many people in this area. I remember a little bit earlier, we did talk about how many people have been charged with assault of a deadly weapon on officers. So many people have been facing that charge, and these numbers are just insane. And just seeing the large crowds of people, and they're still gathered here around the 5 Waymos, even though this one has exploded, but hoping an officer or someone is moving in to try to at least disperse this crowd, get them away from this Waymo that's now putting all that black smoke in the air.
I don't know if there's any way we can see if there are officers.
That's a lot of smoke.
Kind of gathering, getting ready to put this out, because the more that these cars are allowed to burn,
MSM is milking the flaming Waymos.
and the longer this goes without police intervention, the more dangerous it becomes. That's the closest we can see, I think, is just 2 officers over on the far side of the 101. It is a dangerous situation for those officers to have to walk into an area like this. You know, things are volatile, and 2 cars are now burning. Okay, we do have Tim Caputo, Eyewitness News reporter, who was in that press conference with LA Mayor Karen Bass.
This is hilarious. This is the fact that they are focusing this heavily on the Waymos instead of, I don't know, what the protest is actually about.
Asked some very impressive questions. Before we get to the mayor, Tim, you are now on the ground. Can you tell us where you are and what you see?
Yeah, so we're essentially on Los Angeles Street. The interesting thing is on this side of the 101, Los Angeles kind of turns and goes to Alameda right at Union Station. A lot of the protests in the past have ended up on this because you're on either side of the 101. What you're looking at here you saw from above is the cars that are currently on fire. The police line is on the opposite side of these car fires at the moment from where we're standing. Part of the crowd have been moved back in this direction, but you see they're not exactly moving. They've essentially just moved the line back and are standing in place at this point. That thick black smoke obviously going right into the air where we're standing, and the crowd kind of mingling its way down, Tommy, if you want to point down the street towards Union Station as well, kind of working its way on Alameda and Los Angeles as well. They're essentially all in this area. The federal building itself, obviously the focus of these protests and these demonstrations, is on the other side of the 101, but as often happens with these rallies and protests and demonstrations that are in this general vicinity, they get on either side of the 101, and where this is kind of on the near side opposite where the federal building is itself. The crowd itself, by and large, a lot of bystanders taking video, holding up signs, kind of standing, and mostly onlookers. There are a handful, a number of agitators within that crowd. It doesn't necessarily reflect the whole of the group itself. You know, Jory, you were mentioning we were just up in the mayor's office a short time ago talking with the mayor about everything that's transpired over the last couple of days as well. Obviously, the
Manufacturing consent in real time, folks. This is just for the wine moms to pearl clutch and look at the other way when the pigs start cracking skulls. Like the bizarre thing is like fucking hogs, conservatives, Republicans, they love to be like, if an invader came into my house, I would shoot them dead. I would respond with extreme violence and that would be fair and justified. And then when the cops start tear gassing peaceful protests, and then the protesters light a Waymo on fire, it's like, well, I guess now we have to arrest all of them. Like, what happened to that energy? What happened to that energy? Okay. Okay. Look, like this is peak. Not peaceful with a burning car. You just like didn't hear me at all. You like didn't understand or process a single word that I said. The protests were peaceful until the hogs started tear gassing the protesters. This is a response to the tear gassing. How about like we're in like a schoolyard and I deck you in the face and then you deck me back and I'm like, wow, way to be peaceful, buddy. Wow, I can tell you're a really peaceful person.
Well, so it almost seemed like she was trying to have it both ways.
To a degree, right? So this is, it's nuanced and it's difficult, right? I mean, there was an awkward moment where she's talking about we want it to be peaceful and we could hear flashbangs and fireworks going off outside her office in City Hall, literally outside the windows of the mayor's office. We're hearing these loud bangs as she's saying, folks, keep it peaceful. That point is come and gone. That is clear to this point. You see it behind me, obviously. The peaceful part of it is not happening. But here's the interesting juxtaposition, of course, because the protests and the demonstrations are against those federal agents, whether it's ICE, the FBI, Homeland Security, anyone federal agents assisting. LAPD, CHP, and the Sheriff's Department are all distancing themselves from the immigration operations that have been happening. But here's the interesting part and what makes it difficult. When there's violence against those federal officers, when there's graffiti on the street, cars on fire in the street, now it's in the hands of LAPD. Now it's in the hands of the Sheriff's Department. They can't sit idly by.
Yeah, and this is the other thing as well. 100,000 people can peacefully protest. All it takes is one guy to start a fire, and hogs think that they should arrest everyone. It also fails to recognize the fact that, like this guy literally, he cannot come to terms with the reality that these people came to protest peacefully, and they were hit with rubber bullets, and they were hit with tear gas, despite having not done any agitating at all. And after being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed away into the streets, one person, one agitator, lit a Waymo on fire. A Waymo. And now we can arrest all of them, because why not? Like, do you hear yourself?
Back, but it's tough because police are not
one side or the other side or the other side. She wants everyone to be okay. She doesn't want to see violence, and she wants to see her citizens maintain their safety and comfort living in Los Angeles. It looks like from Air 7, Tim, I'm not sure you can even see, but it looks like at least 3 of those Waymos, 3 of the 5 have now been lit on fire. Do you see any police moving anywhere in this area?
No, I mean, from our vantage point, like I said, we're a little bit removed, right? We're not trying to get too close to that thick black smoke, but I don't see any police officers on this side of the 101. Of course, we're dipped down a little bit on the road here as it curves down into Alameda. I see a lot of bicycles and folks on the street and a lot of onlookers on this side.
Hey, stupid. Do you or do you not agree with the reality that the police started tear gassing people before anything violent had happened? Or are you too stupid to understand that?
Essentially watching it from this angle. I mean, look at this.
There is no excuse for another action. So I should be able to show up in your house and like beat the shit out of you, and you just take it. Like I'm just like, oh, and one of these, and one of these for cat. One of these was for my cat. this one's just fun. And you should just take it because there is no excuse for another action. That's fine, right? Like if I'm just like, and I'm like, you're not going to hit me back, right? You would never stoop to my level. Come on. That sound right to you? Obviously you believe that, right? Because you just wrote it. Come on, that's not even close to relevant. I mean, if you're stupid, I can see how that doesn't seem like it's relevant.
At this point, whether things are truly escalating in downtown Los Angeles or just a group that splintered off happened to find 5 cars that they were able to light on fire, and it makes it look like it's a lot worse than the situation actually playing out on the ground.
It's a great point, Jory, because that's the quintessential question when you have rallies, demonstrations, riots, if you will. I wouldn't go far as to call it that. I know President Trump had tweeted about riots and looting. I don't know that I would characterize it that way. But certainly when you have groups like this, from what we've seen, Tommy Pan over here to the left here, it's the vast majority are people taking videos, people waving flags, people walking around, people wanting to be part of the cause, wanting to have their voices heard, and wanting to show the power of numbers and the power of force. Certainly Friday night when we were out here, it was 24, maybe 30 agitators throwing rocks, covered head to toe, trying to instigate the police officers and the feds who were there. The vast majority, that's another big explosion, huh? The vast majority of the folks here seem to be those who are walking around, and you have these pockets of people who are intentionally caught.
Dude, these are the same people that were like, yeah, remember when we dumped all the tea into the Hudson East? Remember when we dumped all that tea? No, wait, Boston. Remember how amazing that was? Remember how dope that was? Yeah, fuck that property. Resist the state. Yeah. And now they're like, but what about doing a Waymo? What about doing a Waymo? No, stop being so mean to the Waymo.
Causing some issues. I'm pausing here for a second just to take a
You people are a
police are
joke.
moving up any closer. Obviously,
You
the
people
biggest
are actually a
concern,
joke.
Anytime you have a car fire, but especially when you have a car fire surrounded by people standing around, as you have a gas tank full of gasoline, and a fire and explosion here would not be ideal.
The
Some of those
famous Hudson
explosions,
tea. I don't know why Hudson came to
We've
mind.
gotten used to over the last day and a half to tell the difference between a fireworks like that or flashbang.
Bro, where the fuck is my Waymo? I've been waiting for an hour, dude.
The difference, obviously, one is sent by authorities and the other is fired by, that's another one that's a firework. But these are part of the crowd, intermittent, and a small part of the crowd. So it's tough to describe the crowd as a whole as agitators. I wouldn't even say that, even close to that. But because it only takes a handful of people to light a car on fire, a handful of people to throw fireworks into a line of police officers, a handful of people to vandalize vehicles, to vandalize and graffiti walls, those get the attention, and rightfully so. I mean, obviously, you have a huge burning fire in the middle of the street here. But it doesn't seem like this is necessarily encompasses the vast majority of the people here. It's just everyone gets caught up in the hoopla as they wanted to come out and kind of have their voices heard.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a matter of a couple people kind of ruining things for everybody else. What might have been a peaceful demonstration certainly is no longer that, as those cars continue to burn and explode. We've talked about those are Waymos, so they are fully electric.
Oh, okay.
And once the air and the fire reaches those batteries, it will go off like that. It's very difficult to put out.
Yeah.
Tim, you okay? You okay? Okay, we'll get back to Tim in just a moment. But again, looks like at least three. I'm sure those guys are working on trying to set the other 2 on fire as well. And you can see that material just melting and burning and covering the surface and still continuing to burn on the surface of the street.
And we just heard that Tim Caputo was moving, so we'll have a different look, different angle from the protest downtown. But where Tim was standing and we heard those explosions in the background, I think he said it was a combination of the car fire, fireworks, and something else. But
right. Well, we did see those flashbangs going off, so it looks like officers are somewhere, unless that is those are just simple fireworks. But we see those poofs of smoke, and those typically are flashbangs trying to disrupt the crowd. And we do see some movement coming now towards the 101 from the top of our screen. So that would be north to south. That would be coming directly from where Tim was standing. I don't know if there's any police activity pushing these folks this way, or perhaps just the smoke. It's getting too hard to breathe. More explosions here from those cars, but we do have a decent-sized crowd watching these cars continue to burn. Otherwise, as Tim said, things do look relatively peaceful at this hour. We saw the folks at Aliso and Alameda sitting down on the ground. We saw the folks at Temple and Alameda just kind of waiting it out. It's broken down to just a couple dozen people at that location. And so things seem pretty, it's hard to say that with 3 cars burning, but things do seem relatively calm, minus these cars that have been set on fire.
Exactly. There are a few scenes, and it looks like this scene is the worst one that we have been seeing because, like you said, the other areas that we have seen people sitting down, and this is just the worst of it, seeing these 3 Waymo cars on fire, which hopefully someone can get a handle on them very soon. But again, it's really dangerous for any kind of police or the fire department to even move in on a situation like this. So they have to really handle this gently. It's difficult. It's hard, especially with 3. Are there 3 on fire? It looks like 3 are on fire.
Yeah.
But there are 5 Waymos in that area, but
Sure,
3 are on fire.
It's a precarious situation. You want to maintain control and get order back in the city, but if you try and do so too in a certain way, you're going to devolve here into some really bad confrontations. And so, you know, there are discussions being had right now by law enforcement about how best to handle this situation. Once the demonstrators made their way onto the 101, it took CHP a little bit of time to come up with a plan and how they were able to do that. And here we have the 101 back open again. So same kind of situation here. There's a large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
So it looks like next to that big, the car fire, we have that wide angle. Is that the one on the other side? Is that a closer look at the car fire?
Yes.
And if so, there's people around it. They're taking pictures, and it's just, they don't even mind all the toxic fumes in the air. But the scene has definitely looked like it's...
Yeah, that's because all these protesters have already inhaled an insane amount of fucking tear gas.
Less crowded than what it looked like about 30 minutes ago. So at least people are moving away, but still really dangerous because, again, these EV batteries, this can explode at any minute. And just the air, I mean, Tim said it smelled like a dumpster fire behind
Yeah, we've been covering the Madeleine story as well.
Tim.
Yeah.
So,
and poor Tommy, his photographer, was back at this location last night with Amy Powell dealing with that. They were
a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn, discussing commentary. Yeah, when we can't even confirm whether or not these were caused by the flashbangs that are getting thrown by the police.
Or hit with tear gas, and so he's back at it again. There's another explosion coming out of that car. We thank all of our photojournalists for being there and our reporters on the ground. This is not easy stuff. It's a very precarious, dangerous situation. We saw one station in town. Their reporter and photographer were basically kicked off of scene by demonstrators. It was unsafe for them to be there. They pushed them out of there. That is why we're being very selective with where we put our reporters on the ground today, because we don't want to put them into harm's way. But simply being on the ground, you can see how volatile it is. Tim was just a short ways away from this and had to move their situation because the crowd might have been moving their way. And you, as a reporter, with a camera there, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you can't get out and put yourself in harm's way.
And it could be so tempting because you really want to show, you want to get the message across and really show these images, these videos of just what it looks like there. But at the same time, you really have to worry about yourself, your well-being. And that's also the case for the police officers that are out there too. I'm sure they're caught in that, that kind of struggle as well.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like Tim Caputo has found a new location. Let's see where he is and what is going on as we search really for the bulk of this crowd. That's the 101 South that is still shut down. The 101 North is moving freely again, and what a shot from Tim Caputo's camera location. Tim, tell us about what you're seeing now.
Well, full disclosure, we didn't actually move locations. We were kind of double parked and had to move the van to let some people out because once we got to this location, what's ended up happening, and no surprise here, Los Angeles Street, cars cannot go down. So they're pulling this kind of U-turn to go back down to Alameda Street here towards Union Station. So we are in the same spot, a pretty safe distance away. I can tell you, you know, there are rowdy elements of this crowd. That's why I'm kind of keeping my head on a swivel as well, because some of the anger pointed at the media, some of the anger obviously
Regardless, who cares about a car? I care more about the illegal kidnapping of citizens. Let's focus on the fire instead of the overwhelmingly peaceful protest. Correct. I mean, again, fucking...
Obviously pointed at law enforcement, at the mayor's office, whomever they perceive as potentially
like Boston Tea Party. These fucking patriot hogs will be like, that was so amazing when we fought the big man, when we fought and then we dumped all the tea. Yeah, and that was, we were sticking it to the man. Who cares about some stupid tea? Our taxes are more important than that. And then when it comes to people literally getting fucking kidnapped off the street and then sent to labor camps in El Salvador, it's like, won't someone think about that way more? That's insured.
Person of authority at this point. So we're just kind of watching our backs as well as we watch what's going on ourselves. But, you know, as you guys have mentioned too, is this car trying to make a U-turn here, this Range Rover red one in the middle of the street. These cars are still burning, and the vast majority of people standing on the sidewalk here and standing even in the street here, mostly just getting video. It does seem like some of the attention has moved away from the burning vehicles as this crowd is now moving back towards the federal building across the 101, back over to Los Angeles, Aliso, and even Alameda Street, essentially where the protests we've seen the last 48, 72 hours have been focused. Obviously, this is where it began, but it eventually kind of bleeds out and filters out into the adjoining and adjacent streets around here. And that's what happened in this area when these cars were set on fire. It does seem, at least where we're standing right now, while it does seem from our angle there are a handful of people standing on the street, the crowd is actually moving farther away across the 101, potentially back towards that federal building. It's tough to tell from here, and frankly, I'm not going to try to get any closer.
Protests.
To show you a
were about police brutality, but the news only covered destruction of property.
Perspective from it, but it does seem like just from the visuals here, as the fireworks continue to go off, the crowd is starting to move away from these burning vehicles. Hopefully, maybe that gives the fire department the opportunity to get in here and try to douse these flames before any gas tank explodes or anything gets worse here. It remains to be seen because we haven't seen a whole lot of law enforcement or first responders in this immediate vicinity. And understandably so, obviously, with folks so angry and things on fire and fireworks going off, it is not exactly the safest place to be at the moment.
How you said that you are keeping your head on a swivel. We saw someone pull up right behind you. He was on a bike. But what is the general feeling of the crowd there? Are they confrontational? Are they saying anything to you?
They're angry. They're not necessarily angry at me. They're not necessarily angry at the media. They're angry. They're angry at what's been going on the last couple of days. They're angry at this immigration policy that they protested back in...
Oh my God, genuine reporting?
February. Remember back on February 2nd when protesters at the time got onto the 101. That was the kind of initial set-off point for a lot of these folks. And now that what we've seen over the last 24 hours, I feel like to a degree it's emboldened them. You have the crowd, you have numbers, you have people that are upset, that are frustrated, that are scared, and they want to have their voices heard, and they feel as though the only way they could do it is be as loud and be as disruptive as possible, and they are doing exactly that. I can tell you the vast majority of people here just want to be part of the movement. They want to be part of the resistance. That doesn't necessarily mean they want to be part of assaulting officers, of vandalism, of burning cars, or of anything like that, but being part of it oftentimes means you get awfully close to it. And I think that's what's happening with some folks here, is that you might not want to be part of that car fire, but guess what? When you drive by on your motorcycle and do some burnouts around it, you're part of the action as well. And that's what's happening right now. This is kind of a show.
Taking a quick pause from this. Thank you for the link.
From Sweden. My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible. My name is...
Yeah, I saw that Hassan linked up with Taylor Lorenz. Oh, I don't know if...
Trying to have some fucking soba noodles. Look. I can rip a coffee too. Here, a souvenir for you.
I don't want that.
You don't want the fucking rubber bullet?
No, you keep it.
You're a lot taller than you look.
down 2 blocks and then left 1 block. That's great, yeah.
Linked up with who?
Thank God.
Journalist Taylor Lorenz.
Yes. Send them all to me. Oh, that breeze is so nice.
Yeah.
That's such a peaceful stream. Okay.
To which the governor responded, this video is from 2020. And so there he is active, going back and trying to prove his point that the president was wrong to bring in the National Guard against his wishes, which is something that typically we do not see happen. The normal order of things is that
Do I even
the
want to
governor
see?
of a state would prove his point that the president
So
was
you
wrong
fucked
to
up
bring in
then,
the National
and you're
Guard
fucking up now.
against his wishes.
Great
Which
argument.
is something that typically we do not see happen. The normal order of things is
Really?
that
So this
the
isn't his
governor
first
of a
time
state
fucking
would
up.
request the federalization, some help from the
Where is
federal
it?
government, and bring in the National Guard. That did
I
not
don't see
happen
it.
here. President Trump took it upon himself to
It's not even Mold Monday yet.
put them into use today. The governor has made a move
There's
now
always
to
a track record.
retake control of those National Guards members.
I don't know why conservatives or like centrists think that it's like this epic own when they insult people that the left doesn't like Gavin Newsom or like Joe Biden or whatever.
That was a big one. Whatever the fuck that was.
What was that? Yeah.
I don't think they'll let me pet the horses.
No, they will.
So stupid. Oh man. All right. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to cover that with you guys a little bit because I was gonna follow it myself anyways. So I wanted to watch it with you guys. I'll probably be going out again later. And if not, I will be probably streaming. But thank you guys for coming to the stream. Thank you for tuning in. I will be on again tomorrow. We'll do our morning news show, see what happens. But yeah, stay safe for anyone that's out there, that's going out there or wants to go out there. Stay safe, stay hydrated. And I will see you guys all tomorrow.